Hey guys, what's going on? So we got a 10.1.7 Elementalist PvP guide here. Uh, Basically, I'm going to go through this pretty quick. I'm going to go through stats, talents, and then kind of rotation. Hopefully just giving a quick insight on how Elementalist works. 10.2 is just around the corner, so I'm going to try and make this as fast as possible and hopefully not take up too much of your time because I feel like most of you are probably already playing Storm, but maybe want to change things up or getting frustrated fighting warriors and stuff like I was, and then I swapped this and found it was much easier to fight them. So to start off with, we're going to go over the stats. Basically, your biggest priority is versatility, like any PvP spec. Then we go into mastery and haste. I am not perfectly statted towards this, but if you have the conquest and stuff, go ahead and prioritize mastery because that's going to buff 90% of your damage. So basically, mastery and then haste. Haste is good, and that is because it reduces all of your cooldowns that you spend. So your Lava Lash, Storm Strike, Ice Strike, Frost Shock, Crash Lightning. It's just very, very helpful. It also helps with getting hexes off. So as for gear, my embellishments are the Infurious Boots of Reprieve. Basically, every time you CC, interrupt, or dispel somebody, you gain a big burst of primary stat. Works very well in conjunction to Sundering and the Forset. And then I got the Spore Cloak for an extra defensive. Um, you could run other things if you want. It's up to you. I personally like these two options because it just works for my benefit in this, but it's all up to personal choice. As for Forset, I find the helmet, shoulders, legs, and gloves give the most value because you can get a mastery versus chest. And then the reason why I run Forset is because when you sunder, you gain a big burst of mastery. It's going to be 12%. Then you gain a big burst of fire damage, which is 10%. All that adds into elemental blast damage on top of your feral spirits. That equals a really big elemental blast. So it definitely makes for good burst situations. Um, you could probably run the chest and choose some sort of gloves. It's up to you. Again, it's all personal choice, but is what I run. I only ever run Insignia of Alacrity. You could run Battle Masters, but I don't think it's worth the damage loss. So on to talents. We have the regular Shaman tree. So this is probably the same as your Storm tree, or if you're new, this is what it's going to look like. Um, Basically, you need Tremor Totem for the fear, you need Earth Elemental for the defensive. Lava Burst gives an extra charge to Elemental Blast. This just buffs LE Blast. Then you got Chain Heal and Earth Shield. You can have both your shields up with Elemental Orbit, so make sure that's always active. Healing Stream also adds a big healing boost to you, and then Swirling Currents adds more healing to that. Hex is a must-have because you need some extra CC to make yourself more of a threat, especially if they don't attack you. And then you have Earth Grab for a root. You have Frost Shock, which will link in with Hailstorm, so that's a must-have. Purge can be swapped out for Greater Purge or Regular Purge based on what you're fighting. Typically, I run Purge against Paladins because I want to make sure I am getting the Blessing of Protection off. Otherwise, I'm usually running Greater Purge just because it's more mana efficient and easier to use. And then, so let's say you're fighting a Warlock or a Shaman, you probably want Cleanse Spirit. Take it away from Nature's Fury because crit is kind of mediocre, especially with the recent nerfs. Put it into that. If you are fighting a Assassination Rogue or a Marksman Hunter, I'd take Poison Cleanse Totem just to remove those poison effects. Other than that, Totemic Projection is a must-have because it helps you move your totems around. Thunderstorm is kind of meh, and Lightning Lasso is kind of meh. I like them because it gives me a guaranteed stun for some situations. If people are using cooldowns or they move into a bad position, I can lock them down for a couple seconds. So you could lose those, but and then put them into elemental warding if you want to, but you kind of need ancestral guidance because it converts your damage into healing, so it is very useful. Spirit walk is a must-have because it's a movement cooldown, so definitely need that. It also removes all movement impairing effects, so if you're rooted, you can use that and get out of it. Brimming with life is really nice because it's just an HP boost. So that's it for the shaman base tree. Onto the enhancement tree. Basically, we run down the right side for the most part, all the way down to lashing flames. Basically, just buffing lava lash as much as possible. Hot hand is very good because it reduces cooldown and damage on proc. And then Ashen Catalyst is good because it links in with Frost or Flame Shock, sorry, and buffs your Lava Lash and reduces the cooldown. Lava Lash now buffs your Flame Shock with Lashing Flames, making it deal double damage for 20 seconds. So it's very, very useful. For the center, we take all the Maelstrom stuff because basically this build relies on Maelstrom spenders to do damage. We also take Wind Fury Totem because of elemental weapons. It's a must-have. It's an extra 5% damage increased. If this wasn't an imbuement requirement, then we wouldn't be taking this at all. But we have Feral Lunge because of an extra mobility cooldown, and Focused Insight for a bit of healing. Works very well with Stormweaver. And then Sundering because of 4-piece, and Ellie Blast because it's a massive, massive damage. It basically is all your damage. It does a lot. I've hit 250k. It did receive a nerf in Season 1 because it was hitting ridiculous numbers, but it's still doing pretty well. Crash Lightning can be swapped out for Primordial Wave if you want, or even Storm Blast if you want. Really up to you. I really like Crash Lightning because it gives you a bit of extra cleave and a bit of nature damage. And then you run down for Feral Spirits and all the way to Elemental Spirits because you want that to buff your Elemental Blast even further. And then we take Elemental Assault because it's basically a guaranteed Maelstrom weapon generator. So that is kind of it for the tree. We don't take Wind Fury Totem because it's not that useful in my opinion for PvP because most people just kill it. So there's really no swapping out. You could do that too. Deeply Rooted Elements if you want. I just personally like Crash Lightning. I think it's a really cool ability. Onto the PvP talents, I always have Static Field Totem. It's very good utility. You can move it around with Projection Totem, which means you're moving people inside. Obviously, it has a range. You cannot move somebody from one side of the map to the other. You can only move them within a certain radius or diameter of the static field. Grounding Totem is a must-have against casters. Now, certain casters like Shadow Priest or Affliction Warlock, you can take Seasoned Winds instead because you can't quite ground a whole lot of their damage. Shadow Priest is a bit more up in the air. Affliction Warlock, I'd definitely say take Seasoned Winds. Other than that, if you're fighting a melee comp, swap it out for Ride the Lightning or Shamanism. Sky Fury and Counter-Strike are okay options, but they can be killed, so it makes them a bit less of a priority. Burrow is a great defensive if you find you're getting burst down and you don't have enough cooldowns. Stormweaver, I personally really like. I always have it on me, and that's because I don't like spending 10 stacks of Maelstrom on a heal. I'd rather use it on an offensive and then get a free heal afterwards, in a sense. It still costs mana, but it doesn't cost Maelstrom weapon. If you don't want to run this, I'd suggest running Ride the Lightning or Shamanism, or even Burrow for the defensive. But it isn't a requirement. I'd definitely say go for more offensive if you don't want Stormweaver. On to the rotation / priority list for damaging people. On single person, basically Flame Shock, Lava Lash, and then you want to build your Maelstrom up. I'm really getting terrible procs here. Really getting terrible procs here. And then we're gonna Wolves. We're gonna get more. We're gonna Ice Strike first, Sunder, Elemental Blast into a Hailstorm. And then we're gonna go get more stacks. Really? You're not giving me anything here? Then we got 10, Elemental Blast into a Hailstorm. Basically, that's it. You want to keep Lashing Flame and Flame Shock on your primary target. And then if you're cleaving, same thing applies. Lava Lash. And then let's say you got their partner there, Lava Lash. Make sure you have it on both of them. And then same thing. Wolves, Ice Strike, Elemental Blast into Hailstorm. Big damage, big cleave. And then let's say the healer pops out, Flame Shock, bam. And then back to keeping Lashing Flames on both targets. And then let's say your burst is kind of over, but you still have your 4-set bonus. Just Chain Lightning. And that way you get Wolves back faster, spend your Maelstrom or your Hailstorm. And then Chain Lightning again. And then you just keep on with that. And then once your 4-set 2 stacks of Chain Lightning are gone, go back to Ellie blasting them. That's essentially it. So basically this spec relies on Lashing Flame and Flame Shock, and then your burst window of Feral Spirits, Elemental Blast, Ice Strike, Frost Shock, and Sundering. So that's essentially it. So just another quick burst here. We're going to go Wolves, Ice Strike, Sunder, Elemental Blast, Hailstorm, and then we're going to get another 10 stacks, and we're going to Ellie Blast into another Hailstorm, and we're good. So this doesn't quite have massive kill potential, but it does do a significant amount of damage. It's more powerful in 3s than it is in 2s, but it's still very useful against like warriors or windwalkers and stuff like that that have very good CC to shut you down during windows, because your windows are so unpredictable. They'll never be able to totally time them down. So that's going to be it for the guide. I really hope this helps you out. Just a quick tip if you didn't know how to move stuff. So Stormfield, move, and that'll knock somebody over here. Basically, they always move to the center of the totem. Same logic applies for Tremor Totem, Earth Grab Totem, and Healing Totem. Basically, your teammates over there feared, bam, they'll be unfeared once that ticks. So this ability is probably the best thing that's ever happened to Shaman, in my opinion. This ability is massive. But yeah, that is it for the guide. Hopefully this helps you understand Elementalist a bit more, or even Shaman more. I really like this build, and I'm looking forward to the 10.2 changes. I still think Storm is the more powerful option, but it definitely has its benefits and its power still behind it. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this helped, and I will see you in the next one. Later.